Chapter 21, Tippy Toe. Breaking into the Avengers mansion, evading their numerous and ridiculous security measures, and assessing a contact list on a cell phone took more energy than I anticipated. I was curled up in the treehouse in Doreen's yard with no more than an hour of sleep in me when, "Tippy, Tippy!" Even half sleep, I recognized the voice. It was Davy Porkpun, so called because of the jokes he tells. Bad jokes, mostly about pigs, bacon, and ham. I was not in the mood for jokes. I was in the mood for peace and quiet. I pretended to remain asleep, but when I felt the heat of his paw above my shoulder, I knew he was about to poke me. My eyes snapped open, and I grabbed hold of his wrist just before he made contact. He startled. "This had better be good," I said, releasing his wrist. "It is," he breathed. "Like buttered peanuts good," I said, flexing my tail. "Green husks and monkey biscuits. Not that good. Maybe as good as bacon on—" "No jokes," I added quickly. "Right," he said. But his eyes darted up and to the left, and in that way they do when he's trying to come up with a joke he thinks I haven't heard before. "Focus, Davy," I snapped. "Why the branch stampede? What's up?" His eyes popped back to mine. "It's the sharp garbage. The dogs," he said. "There's a good piece of rot dripping. They're snapping and growling, something fierce." Doreen had asked me and the squirrels to keep an eye on the dogs, the ones that, despite everything dogs had ever done to squirrels, we had actually helped. "Something sour in the pile," I said. "I'll sniff it myself. Let's scamper." To his credit, Davy kept up with me as I raced through the neighborhood. I could hear the dogs before I saw them, crooning and snarling like their paws were caught in a trap. The sound was nasty enough to make my fur stand up along my spine. Then I saw the body. One of my people. A tree squirrel, lying limp just beyond the borders of the bug-free lot. Tree squirrels don't just lie still. When we don't move, something is seriously wrong. "That's Speedo," said Davy. Speedo Strutfuzz let out a weak cough, and I sprinted to his side, eyeing the bite marks marring his fur. "Which sharp piece of garbage did this?" I hissed. "Black Stripe," Speedo muttered. I tensed to spring, ready to pay the animal back in kind, but Speedo put his paw on mine. "Nah, Tippy, wasn't nasty. There was a nail or something on his back. He was in pain. I tried to—" "Punish he whom the teeth belong," I growled. "That is the law. If the black-striped garbage has the teeth that hurt you, he will be punished." "Peaches, Tip," Speedo said, taking labored breaths. "But this pup may be just the tooth of a greater monster." Speedo's eyes fluttered close, and though his chest still rose and fell with breaths, my heart twinged. Davy carefully parted Speedo's fur to examine his injuries. "He got a branch snap in the rib, but the leaks are gummed over already." "Stay with him," I said. I scaled a tree and looked down. The dogs had gone crazy, whimpering and growling, snapping and biting at anything and everything, including themselves. Except the dark mound the Groundies had used as their community toilet. Even in their madness, it appeared the dogs had enough sense not to eat that. But all the other piles of refuse had been torn up. My tail twitched. If I fell into that mayhem, I would not survive. The morning sun was cresting the buildings. The sunlight glinted against small pieces of metal in the dogs' backs, like giant robot bees had stung the beasts and left their stingers behind. There was a yelp as one of the dogs rammed its head into the red concrete wall of the abandoned restaurant. The animal staggered and shook its head, but then snarled and used its head again to ram the wall. Before the creature could ram the wall once more, I leaped from the tree and onto its back. I have ridden on dogs before, but always to distract them from hurting one of my clan. I told myself that this was the case because crazy dogs are bad news for squirrels, but the truth was, I could tell the dog was suffering, and I actually cared. About a dog. I sighed. Doreen had done this to me. The dog bucked. My hind paws grasped handfuls of the dog's fur, and I stayed right where I was, close up. The metal thing on its back looked like a large silver tick. 6 metallic legs digging into the flesh of the animal. Sparking arcs of electricity popped off the tiny machine, and my mount twitched and jerked with each one. I grabbed the tick and pulled. The dog howled. The spark of electricity fizzled through me, my hair standing straight up. I've chewed through live electrical wire. I could take it. But my body's involuntary jerk that came with the zap still sent me flying. The tick came with me. I landed hard on the open spot of asphalt, the impact noodling my noggin. I struggled to my feet just in time to be struck by something that sent me flying again. Canine teeth nicked my tail, and then I landed on what felt like mud. The smell of it sharpened me up, and I almost gagged when I realized I had come down on the potty pile. The dogs were leaving me alone, but still, gross. I shuddered, leaping from the pile to the fence and up to the neighboring tree faster than I realized I could move. "Whoa," Davy said. A handful of other squirrels had arrived during my dog and potty show, and together had managed to pull Speedo up into the safe branches. That was amazing. "Not my first dog ride," I said, a little dazed. I was still gripping the metal device. It was hot in my paw. "Nah, Tip, that dog you helped? It saved you," Speedo said, awake now and propped up against the trunk. "Bug nuts," I said. "Treat her straight, Speedo." I looked back to where the animal now lay, collapsed in an exhausted heap, while his brothers and sisters continued to pace, twitch, and howl. "Clear chitter, Squeak. When you tumbled, the other dogs were on straight scamper for your tail, but Blackstripe batted you way away from them," Davy said. "Hoarding his nuts, maybe," I said. "Wanted me first." "Maybe," Speedo said, wincing as he sat a little straighter. But I saw different. It seemed super peached to have that metal thing off its back. Grateful to you. "It stinks like a summertime ham board," said Davy, sniffing me over. "Sorry," I said. I landed on the potty mound. "No," Davy said. Yes, you do stink. But you smell like groundy droppings. That metal thing smells like, I don't know, something else." I took a sniff of the metal thing. Through the stink of my own fur, I could tell Davy was right. The electric bug was like a shell with a rotten nut inside. It reminded me of something, but I couldn't quite put a claw on it. "Cheated back to that mass migration of beetles last fall, when Sluggo ate one of the bugs," Davy said. "Squeak's fart smelled like that was like what's inside that thing." "That beetle stampede was no migration," I said. I knew what he meant. Last spring, an exterminator had puffed a house full of gas to rid it of the bed bugs. Those bugs were on flee from fumigation. "Oh, what's a fumigation? No." "Poison gas, meant to kill things," I said. "Bury this fast." I handed the thing to Davy Porkpun. "On it like bristles on a hog," said Davy, leaping to the ground. "I'm going to tell Squirrel Girl about this." I told the rest of the Squeaks. "Gather our best riders. I think we're about to have a rodeo."